Rain needles the asphalt as the woman pedals hard, lungs burning, headlights slicing past like threats. Her balance slips for half a second, and the world tilts toward impact. Metal screams, then silence snaps shut around her senses. Pain arrives late, distant, as if borrowed from someone else's body. Hands lift her, voices blur, and fluorescent light washes the rain from memory. She tries to speak, but the words sink before reaching her mouth. Hours fracture into bright shards of consciousness. Somewhere between beeps and bandages, something inside her stirs awake. Weeks later, she returns to the apartment carrying healing bones and unanswered fear. Her roommate smiles too brightly, as if afraid the woman might vanish again. The celebration is small and loud, meant to feel normal. Laughter echoes, but the woman's attention keeps slipping sideways. A headache blooms, then swallows the room whole. The next breath comes somewhere else entirely. Concrete pillars loom like strangers who know her secrets. She checks her phone, heart hammering at the missing hours. Her roommate's voice trembles through the call, insisting she left the party smiling. The woman doesn't remember leaving at all. Back home, sleep refuses to come. When it finally does, it drags her onto a rooftop under a frozen moon. A dark silhouette watches from the edge, shaped like her but wrong in every proportion. She wakes choking on air. Morning routines fracture under invisible pressure. In the shower, steam thickens until the mirror shows a second outline. Pain snaps her awake again, this time surrounded by friends' alarmed faces. Blood dots the floor where glass shouldn't be. They swear she wandered out wrapped only in a towel. She swears she never moved. The doctor's corridor smells of disinfectant and dread. Questions land like traps, and her answers feel rehearsed by someone else. Machines hum while images bloom across a screen. The doctor's silence stretches far too long. He finally speaks of an anomaly, something old and deeply rooted. The words feel less like diagnosis and more like accusation. She leaves before hearing the rest, driven by a sudden need to see the painting. The one the artist insisted revealed her hidden side. The image seems to breathe, darker than memory allows. She feels watched from behind her own eyes. Determined to return it, she steps into the artist's loft, unaware the truth has already been recorded there. Something inside her smiles. The loft hums with quiet electricity, screens glowing in the dark. A paused video thumbnail shows her own face, frozen mid-action. She presses play, breath shallow, and watches herself moving with cruel certainty. Her hands don't feel like hers as the recording continues. The artist appears on screen, terrified and pleading, while she stands calm and unfamiliar. The footage ends abruptly, leaving silence screaming. She stumbles back, knocking over a chair, realizing the gaps in her memory have teeth. The room feels staged after the crime. Broken glass glitters near the sink, matching the wound she found days earlier. Recognition lands like a verdict. She flees into the night, heart racing ahead of her thoughts. Every shadow feels coordinated against her escape. Back home, she binds her wrists with tape, then her ankles, breathing through panic. Control becomes a physical ritual. Sleep comes anyway, heavy and invasive. When she wakes, the restraints are loosened, and the clock has leapt forward. She wanders outside for air, hoping movement will anchor her. The city answers with flickering lights and empty streets. A wave of dizziness bends the skyline. She ducks into a restroom, gripping porcelain as reality peels. She tears at a bandage, compelled by an itch beneath the skin. Something presses outward, impossible and undeniable. A malformed finger-like shape protrudes, twitching faintly. She recoils, gagging, as her reflection smiles a fraction late. She bolts into the open air, convinced staying still invites takeover. Footsteps echo behind her, too measured to be coincidence. A man steps from the shadows, eyes fixed with hungry intent. Her pulse stutters as fear unlocks the other presence. Her body straightens, voice dropping into unfamiliar calm. A blade flashes into her hand without memory of reaching for it. The man retreats, startled by the sudden shift. Control snaps back, leaving her shaking amid the rain. She confesses everything to her roommate, words tumbling over each other. The room tightens with disbelief and fear. Paintings litter the floor, violent and intimate. The protagonist insists she never made them. A blackout slices through the argument. When vision returns, her hands are wrapped around her roommate's throat. She releases instantly, horror flooding back. The damage is clear even if no one speaks it. She begs her roommate to leave, to stay safe. Love refuses to listen, and that frightens her most. Choosing distance as mercy, she packs a bag and slips away. The night swallows her without protest. The same man finds her again, anger sharpened by humiliation. He blocks her path, certain this time. She tries to explain through tears, insisting she's sick. His smile answers with disbelief. The switch flips without warning. Her posture hardens, eyes empty of appeal. The confrontation ends fast and final, the rain masking everything. Silence returns heavier than before. Awareness snaps back to reveal the cost. She staggers away, knowing she can't be trusted with breath or blood. She calls her roommate, voice calm with terrible resolve. The destination she names freezes the line. The motel from her origin looms ahead, unchanged and waiting. Memory presses from all sides. Inside, the air tastes of rust and regret. She climbs the stairs like a confession. Her roommate races through traffic, piecing together photos and patterns. Understanding finally lands, sharp and late. In the motel room, the other presence rises, furious at the plan. Control becomes a battlefield. She fights herself, whispering apologies to empty walls. The body answers with betrayal. The roommate bursts in, breathless and hopeful. Relief lasts exactly one heartbeat. The other presence takes full command, eyes hollow and intent. The room becomes a trap. They struggle across the floor, crashing into furniture. Survival replaces friendship in an instant. A final reversal, fueled by tears and instinct, ends the fight. The body goes still. Silence settles, absolute and irreversible. The cost of love stains the floor. Dawn creeps in as she leaves the motel behind. Grief becomes the only thing she carries. The city wakes, indifferent to what it took. She rides home alone, memories cutting deeper than any wound. Morning light finds the roommate washing blood from her hands in a public sink. Each rinse feels like erasing proof she wishes could speak. Sirens wail somewhere distant, never arriving. She realizes no one else will explain what happened inside that room. She returns to the apartment, stepping over scattered canvases like evidence. The paintings seem calmer now, emptied of rage. One canvas remains unfinished, the brush left mid-stroke. She touches it gently, expecting resistance that never comes. At the hospital, the doctor listens without interrupting. His eyes confirm what science can explain, and what it cannot undo. He speaks of dormant structures, awakened by trauma, fed by fear. Responsibility shifts, but guilt refuses to move. The roommate signs forms she barely reads. Closure becomes paperwork stamped with finality. Night returns her to the rooftop where the protagonist once stood. Wind carries echoes that finally sound like goodbyes. She imagines the woman beside her, whole and unburdened. The image fades without protest. Back downstairs, a knock startles her heart into sprinting. No one stands there, only a package left carefully centered. Inside lies the painting from the loft, its darkness softened. She wonders who returned it, and why now. She considers destroying it, then stops. The story deserves to end, not disappear. She considers destroying it, then stops. The story deserves to end, not disappear. The canvas joins the others, leaning against the wall. For the first time, the room feels neutral. She cleans until exhaustion quiets her thoughts. Control returns through ordinary motion. Sleep comes without dreams, heavy and earned. Morning breaks without incident. Days pass, then weeks. The city resumes its careless rhythm around her healing. She donates the bicycles they once shared. Letting go becomes an act of respect. At the loft, authorities seal the door. The past closes with an official click. She turns away before memories sharpen. Some truths are safer carried silently. A message pings her phone from an unknown number, empty except for a timestamp. Her pulse steadies instead of spiking. She deletes it without reading further. Fear no longer negotiates her attention. At the hospital, the doctor files his final report. An anomaly documented, a life concluded. He pauses, considering the human cost behind the data. Then he saves the file. The roommate visits the rooftop one last time. The wind answers with nothing. She leaves a folded note under a stone, simple and final. Gratitude replaces guilt. At home, she repaints the walls, choosing lighter tones. The space responds. The canvases move to storage, labeled and archived. Memory finds a shelf. She takes the stairs instead of the elevator, feeling each step. Grounded choices matter again. Outside, the motel looks smaller, ordinary. Power drains from places once feared. She mounts a bike and pushes off, muscles remembering joy. Motion becomes freedom again. Traffic parts like a courtesy, not a threat. The city feels survivable. A reflection in a shop window shows only one figure. She smiles, briefly. At home, the lights feel warmer than before. Safety returns without announcement. She cooks for one, unhurried. Life continues, imperfect and intact. The phone remains silent all night. She sleeps easily anyway. Morning sunlight cuts through clouds, clean and sharp. A new routine begins. She locks the door behind her, confident. The past stays where it belongs. Outside, the city hums with indifferent promise. She joins it willingly. The story ends where control begins, not with fear but with choice. Survival, finally, belongs to the living. Weeks later, a letter arrives from the hospital, thin and impersonal. She recognizes the handwriting immediately. The report confirms the condition, clinical and bloodless in language. It explains everything except how it felt to love her. She folds the pages neatly and places them in a drawer. Knowledge no longer needs to stay visible. That night, she dreams of riding side by side, tires humming in sync. She wakes without panic. At dawn, she visits the river path they once raced along. The water moves forward without looking back. She leaves a final flower tied to the railing, watching it drift in the breeze. Ritual completes what words. Pedaling again feels natural now, not borrowed or shared. Every movement belongs to her alone. She passes strangers who never knew the danger she survived. Normalcy becomes its own quiet victory. At work, she takes on longer routes, farther destinations. Distance no longer feels like escape. One stop brings her near the old motel. She pauses, then rides past without slowing. The building shrinks behind her, stripped of meaning. Places lose power when fear leaves them. Later, she laughs with coworkers over cheap coffee. The sound surprises her with its ease. That evening, she locks up the apartment, confident in the quiet. No footsteps follow her anymore. She frames one harmless sketch and hangs it by the door. Memory becomes art, not warning. Outside, the night air feels clean instead of threatening. She breathes it in deeply. She rides home under streetlights that no longer flicker with menace. Darkness becomes just weather. In the distance, sirens rise and fade, unrelated to her story. The city keeps moving. She realizes she is no longer counting hours or checking reflections. The body is hers again. Lying down, she turns off the lamp without hesitation. Nothing waits in the dark. The nightmare ends not with a scream, but with continuity. One life, uninterrupted, finally moves forward. Months later, the seasons change without asking permission. She notices because she is finally paying attention again. Leaves crunch under her shoes, grounding her in sound and weight. Nothing slips away when she looks directly at it. She passes a street mural being repainted, the old image disappearing layer by layer. Change doesn't erase history, it reframes it. At a red light, she studies her reflection in a car window. It matches her movements perfectly. The moment passes without dread or calculation. That absence feels like freedom earned. She volunteers to help sort donated art supplies at a community center. Creation returns, stripped of violence. Children's laughter echoes from another room, distant and harmless. Life continues in parallel lanes. She paints a small landscape, nothing abstract or sharp. The lines stay exactly where she puts them. When she finishes, she doesn't analyze it for hidden meaning. It is enough that it exists. That evening, she cooks for friends, filling the apartment with sound and steam. Shared space feels safe again. Laughter overlaps, messy and real. No one watches the doors. Late at night, after everyone leaves, she cleans without urgency. Silence no longer threatens. She pauses at the window, watching traffic blur into light. Time moves forward whether feared or trusted. The phone buzzes with a routine reminder, nothing ominous. Her body doesn't tense anymore. She deletes the notification and stretches, listening to joints and breath. Presence replaces vigilance. Before bed, she checks the locks once, not twice. Trust settles into habit. In the mirror, she meets her own eyes and nods. The agreement is simple and mutual. She turns off the lights, leaving the room intact. Darkness does nothing without permissio. Sleep comes smoothly, uninterrupted and whole. No time is stolen anymore. The story closes on continuity, not fear. One body, one mind, moving forward without resistance.